Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. It is your host, Colleen, Cosmic Colleen. I tried to do this episode yesterday, and my whole day was running so smooth, Mercury conjoining with Saturn. However, when I sat down and did this episode yesterday, it took me 5 times to do the beginning. And then halfway through, I had this brain fart, and I was like, and normally, I have lots of brain farts if you're used to listening to my podcast, and I just kind of keep it rolling, I can pick it up, but I just all of a sudden couldn't, and I stopped it, and I said, all right, well, I guess that's the universe telling me don't do this podcast right now, this episode right now, or maybe whatever I said I shouldn't have said, who knows? So I'm doing it again, Tuesday, March 1st. No matter what, I wake up. And 90s babies, millennials, 80s babies, you'll know this. As soon as I see the first of the month, the first thing that comes to my head is, wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. So get up, get up, get up, get your checks and get up. Bone Thugs and Harmony. Huge part of my childhood from like a young age because I had older siblings. So I was listening to them long before I should have ever listened to them. So wake up. It's a new month. It's a new day. We have a new moon. Speaking of new in Pisces, we're going to go over Mercury conjoins Saturn and Aquarius, which is happening, which was yesterday. And I'll get into my amazing day yesterday of efficiency. Venus and Mars conjunct Pluto this week. The sun conjoins Jupiter. And Sunday, Venus and Mars move into Aquarius. I actually think it's going to be a really great week, even though we have that conjunction with Pluto. I think it's going to be one of the better weeks of March. I think March is going to be tough. I do a little bit, but this is going to be a good week. And for those of you listening, just tuning in, new to tuning in, astrology works in cycles. Our life works in cycles. All we have is this moment. So there are going to be good moments and bad moments. Both are going to coexist in the same week, sometimes in the same day. And we have to understand that. So it's not that, oh my gosh, there's always something, a planet, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. We have malefic and benefic planets out there that represent pretty much the good and the bad, the negative and the positive. And it doesn't mean that one planet's always positive or one's always negative. That's just the general lessons. And both are moving and both are creating things in our life. So because in my head, I already know you guys are thinking, Colleen, it was just, it was hard in January. What do you mean March isn't going to get better? March is going to be tough, only because Venus is still going to be between 2 planets. So I think we're still in this Venus dance that we have been in since November. And if you're curious about how this Venus dance has played out, or if you've noticed some changes in your love life, your friendships, some creative pleasures, go back to when Venus entered Capricorn and listen to my podcast episodes. Honestly, I almost started calling this the Venus podcast because I feel like I had so many episodes about it, and it just was a big ongoing transit that has been happening. And Venus is now, when it enters Aquarius, which dance with Mars, and then it starts to move ahead. And then it's stuck between malefic planets, right? Then it's stuck between Pluto and Saturn. And it's in the mix with Mars. I think there's going to be a little bit of some hard times still. Then in April, we'll see it. Venus moves in. It's exalted. It's happy in Pisces. And it's like the light at the end of the tunnel for Venus-themed things. Just been a lot of Venus, but let's talk about new moon in Pisces, which is going to kick off the week. Actually, that did not kick off the week, but we're going to talk about that. And then we'll talk about what kicked off the week. New moon in Pisces. Oh, real quick, I'm trying to say this at the beginning of the episode, and then I'll get into it. Please, thank you everyone who supported me, wrote to me, supports me weekly, listens to this weekly. If you want to know how you can support me, support my show, support my craft, right now, the way things are set up, just send it to someone. A lot of you post on social media, even getting the word out, that helps. But the best way is saying, hey, let me send you this podcast I think you might like. Hey, oh, you want to know a new podcast? Listen to this podcast right now. That's the best way that you can help me out, and just by listening every time one of these pop up. So thank you, and rate, review, subscribe. Anyway, new moon in Pisces. Let's talk about that. New moon usually brings a calmer flavor. I think last month's new moon was a little wild. However, this new moon is going to bring a nice soft touch to the Venus-Mars conjunction. It is Pisces is a water sign, right? It's the end of the zodiac. It transcends between realms, between the good, between the bad. It's oftentimes a lost spirit. It's like the lost water that's off finding its own, it's doing its own path. It's a very forgiving planet, and I think that this is going to be a good new moon, and things that are going to be coming up this week are going to be a lot of things that we have to practice forgiveness with. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is at the same frequency of love. Resentment is at the same frequency as anger. Now, again, I don't know scientifically exactly, but you get what I'm saying. It's at the same vibe, those two things. And forgiveness can be hard, but when you actually forgive, it is literally one of those times that it's just an instant, like, you pop the balloon, and all of a sudden everything seems easy, and you can just like take a deep breath. That's what that feels like. So with Pisces, if you notice them, I love y'all. You're in my life. You're opposite my rising. So, and you're in you rule my my house of marriage and partners, and the reflection of the other. So I often see sides of me that I don't always like in others. However, Pisces are extremely forgiving. They don't always let go mentally. They'll hold on, or they'll still be the wound that is in them, and they will carry that on forever, and they'll like, woe is me, and pull that wound out every time. But however, they are forgiving. Oftentimes, I find that Pisces stay in relationships definitely well log before, they should have ended a long time ago. And usually you have to end things with a Pisces. I've never come across a Pisces that I have ever known that has broken up with someone. If that's you and your Pisces, sorry, just saying, that's fine. I'm glad that you broke up with people, but I have never noticed that. So just kind of that energy of forgiveness. And again, a lot of matters of love, happiness, if you've been wondering whether you should forgive someone, let someone back into your life, take this as a sign. This is a sign, yes. And you can come back from something. So a new beginning around love, friendship, joys, pleasures. However, it's going to come from you forgiving, you opening your heart again, you letting go. Focus on that. How can I show up every day and be more compassionate, loving, and forgiveness? And how can you forgive yourself? This is going to be a good new moon to figure out and focus and really wonder, how can I forgive myself? What does forgiving myself look like? Oftentimes, I think that's why we're all running around here, or the world's running around here, fighting and angry, because they have these resentments for other people that are even deeper, a reflection of themselves and a resentment that they have of themselves in that way, and they play it out in other people. Reflect on that, because we can change, we can grow, our brain evolves, right? Just as little kids, or, and compare yourself to you. Don't compare yourself to other people. I look back at how I reacted to situations 7 years ago, and just through the act of awareness and reflecting, I have changed so many of those behaviors. Now, I'm still crazy, and I still have a lot, and I'll get into that. I talked a little bit last week in my relationships. However, I grow, and just by getting awareness, and that's what these planets do. That's what this show does: is sitting and seeing in yourself. I think this new moon is going to be extra positive for things, again, because we have Jupiter there. Can also, if you are going through a very hard, tumultuous time or ready to end something, there can be a lot of tears and deeply emotional, but you're ready to let go. I see this as like a new moon of letting go. Even though we really focus letting go on the full moon, we also can have these sort of instant letting go and brand new beginnings of toxic things, a toxic work environment, toxic relationship, toxic friends, toxic behaviors in yourself, patterns, and okay, I'm actually finally done. When you're done with something, like that feeling of I'm done. You can have the strong feminine force and saying I'm done, and cut something out and literally move on from it. This is a very good new moon for that. So think of something maybe that it might be somewhat toxic to you that you are really ready to let go of. And if you can't think of a person, place, or thing, there's probably something inside you that you could focus on bringing some awareness to letting go of. That would be a good new moon. But yeah, lots of hope, lots of positivity, lots of happiness. Soon in another month, Venus will be in Pisces again, where she is exalted, and it will be happy. So right now, maybe focus too on love. How can you show up and be a better person for your partner? Or what does that type of love, romantic partner look like to you? One thing I learned in my life through my relationships, marriages, all of that, is that love isn't enough. That was like the most heartbreaking, I think, thing that ever happened to me, was that I realized that love is not enough to hold a relationship together forever, right? You have this fairy tale and you're young and you grow and you think, oh, love will conquer all. Love will do this. Love will do that. You might still have that belief, but after looking back and having some honest awareness in my own experiences, love is not enough. Has to be so many other things. And the one thing that is enough that I see is that couples who have open and honest, conscious awareness and communication, that's enough. So focus on that. Again, this new moon kicks off. The very next day is the VenusMars Conjunct Pluto. So that's why I said this is a good moon, especially around relationships or toxic things that we like, letting that go. Conjunct Pluto will show us our shadows and Mars and destruction. Like those will bring our shadows and our destruction. So if some things come up, have forgiveness in yourself. And there may, again, I'm happy this isn't a full moon that is happening before the Venus-Mars conjunct Pluto. I might have something else to say about that. However, this new moon in Pisces, the forgiveness, I think it's calming the tone to that big conjunction and blow. However, Mars is well placed. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars is happy. Mars is strong. That's why I feel like there's such a strong sexy, powerful, feminine energy out there this week. Think very, and this is Venus Mars. I feel like since they have conjoined, think very Xena, Princess Warrior. Or there used to be this show when I was young in the 90s on like TNT, and I think it was called La Femme Nikita. I don't know whoever she was, powerful. Or like China from the WWE or the WWF back then, these strong forces. Imagine that energy is with you because it is. That's sort of the strong feminine energy, the Venus, wherever Venus is, that's where that energy is showing up. Where is Venus in your chart? Where is Capricorn in your chart? That is where that energy is going to be showing up now. At the end of the week on Sunday, the Venus-Mars dance then moves into Aquarius. Now, both are relatively still pretty even keel, happy in the sign, a little more disciplined, but a little bit looser and edgier and more innovative. While they're in that sign together, there could be some shocking out of the blue realizations. We'll still have Mercury there. So there could be some, all of a sudden, some awareness that you did not see coming out of the blue. You see someone for the first time, like in a new light. That stuff could be happening. But we'll talk next week a little bit more about Venus and Mars moving into Aquarius. With this Pluto, okay, we talked about the forgiving. I'm trying to actually look at... I write these notes and then I write them backwards. Like I'm a little bit dyslexic. I don't know if it's that or the ADHD, but I start to the right page and then I go to the left page and write. But when I need to look at my notes, I get kind of confused. So we're going to get with this, we're going to have some visions of our destructive relationship patterns. This is Venus, Mars, Pluto. Shadows in other people. It's a time that might have some really instant attraction. Like you meet someone and you're like, oh my God, this is my soulmate. Day one, you're like, I'm going to marry you. And I've done that. I married someone after 2 years before. After 2 months before. There's that oh my God, this is the strongest passion, love, whatever that is. That can happen. Or we can have big blowouts that are again, done, over. I'm not doing that. However, a beautiful new restart, I think, with Venusian, Mars, rolled things. We're heading into the light. We're heading into spring. We're in Pisces season now, and we come out of the slum of winter, and we're a little bit happier and joyous. But look at this as, even the month of March is like your last little bit of this past winter shadows coming out. And remember, life and something I discovered, and life is how you perceive it, and definitely enjoy it. However, I think it's all the Virgo energy. I've lived a life of awareness, and there is awareness in everything we do. And I think we're meant to connect. But part of connection with people is part of connection with yourself and finding what really is the healthiest connection. Sorry, I'm obsessed with Starbucks. Their brown shake, whatever it is, brown oat milk sugar something espresso. And I'm losing my voice just real quick. And I was like, oh, I need a sip. That sounds good, though, doesn't it? Whoever's listening is probably like, ooh, that sound made my body tingle. So yesterday, I'm going to talk about another theme of this week is Mercury conjunct Saturn. Mercury rules travel, communication, or kind of day-to-day, the movement of our day-to-day life, various things like that. During this time, there's definitely way more police on the road. I can tell you that. Every time it's like police everywhere. So follow all speeding laws. Saturn likes to bring law to things. And Saturn's well placed, but kind of out of the blue, like, oh, there's never a cop on this road. Let me keep going 20 miles over the speed limit on this road. And then suddenly there's a cop. In Aquarius' sign, also, newly ruled by Uranus, kind of this, what? Out of the blue. So just keep an eye on that, especially with words, things that you say. And this is a time where we can have repercussions for our words. This is definitely time where, like, don't send like a mean email or anything because Saturn holds on to things and will hold forever. So this is one of those things like that could end it if you could never take those words back during this time. You could say this is also a good time to, if you need to have a come to Jesus talk and in a strict, serious way with someone, very good time to do it. They will get through to it. And if someone may need to have that with you, you might be talking to someone, or maybe this past weekend you talked to someone and they gave you a come to Jesus talk, or were like, yo, get it together. Something that's a little harsh, strong, fixed, and makes you not very, or maybe you had it last week or leading up to this transit. Put it in a way that you needed to hear, but at first you got defensive and were really mad that they said it that way. You might all of a sudden, I see it. Thank God that they grandparented me, they grandpa'd me because I really needed that. And I can finally see that. Or you might finally be done with someone's BS and say, okay, sit down. This is how it is. Da, 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 da. Also, a big time that we get done with our own bullshit. Again, I'm getting a sense this week of just a lot of over the bullshit and ready to end something with a strong, powerful force. And however that is, from an argument with the school bus teacher, driver, to your relationship, to your toxic work environment, to your friend, to your family member, whoever it is, almost like done. And most importantly, to yourself. Too often we get caught up in what everyone else is doing wrong and we forget to look at what we do wrong, which we need to know. And I do. I think I talked about a little bit of destructive patterns that I have. And I've been reflecting a lot. And one of I'm trying to think how I put it in relationship, is I have a really hard time. How do I want to say this? I have a really hard time. Sometimes I can keep people in my life forever once I let you in. And if I get a sense of an energy, like we can fight like siblings on and off, then that can stay. However, I've come across few people like that, and I have a hard time when right away I feel something, like all of a sudden I think, like I'm so scared that people are not going to be who they say they are, and that fear has come out greater from my own lessons as I've gotten older, is that I will have a really okay, yeah, I saw this really, I'm done. I've done it with Rob a bunch of times. He's very compassionate with it. I'll be like, yes, yep, I'm done. I'm never talking to you again. I'm blocking everything that you, in a second, and I pretend like you're dead. Which is very Virgo energy, very Virgo rising, very Virgo moon. Sometimes it's like, okay, I have to kill you in my head instantly so I don't have to feel, because I don't want to feel that and feel that pain, I guess, from the loss of connection. So I've been working on that and how it shows up in my own relationship. I met Rob a year ago now, last week, and if you've been listening to my show this long, you remember our journey. I actually have never called him really by his first name here, the Capricorn moon. And that's something that I have done that has gotten me, that's definitely, I look back at the relationships, friendships, and I wish I would not have done that. But it is what it is. But he's really taught me a lot about sticking and staying. I think, my dad was married 4 times, had a relationship in there. I grew up on a golf course, and there was a in a very small town with surrounded by farms, and there was always relationships ending and breaking there. My own mother, and I get really scared. I think like underneath my inner child is like, okay, now I have to instantly be prepared to restart. So that became a life of patterns of me like, all right, I'm done. Yep, ending, done at a year. Or I saw this pattern and like done, ending. And Rob, Capricorn moon, he has taught me you can't just do that. You can't just all of a sudden, because someone showed you a side of them that maybe you didn't like, or you're fighting, because that's when you see each other's shadows. And then you just like will say, okay, I'm done. I'm never talking to you again, and plan an entire like new life ahead of you. And I was like, oh, well, that's my coping mechanism. So I've gotten this far in my Gemini brain, like, okay, next thing, Mercury ruled, next thing. And that's been really coming up for me. That came up for me this past weekend. And again, the reflection and the awareness, and we sit and we wonder, and I ponder about this, and it's been coming to me since the last few years, therapy and various things. How do I respond differently? Well, already from a year ago to now, when I do it, I respond differently than I did. I literally would be like, all right, yep, bye, pack up all my, bye, leaving, get in the car and drive off. And then just like never talking to you again, to like, okay, I'm going to stick, I'm going to stay, I'm going to take a shower. We don't just jump up and leave right now, Colleen. We'll figure it out in the morning. And it was a wonderful morning. The great thing about him and I, when we argue, and it's having so much mutable energy and so much like Gemini between both of us and Virgo, is we're so over it the next day, especially with the Gemini. Like no matter what, we could be over an hour later. Most of our fights, honestly, in the last year have began because of pop culture. He's like, oh, let's have a fun argument. And he's a really intense Italian guy. And I get really, like that. And 2 hours later, we'll be cuddling. And I think sometimes, people that have seen that are like, wait, what? Very Gemini. If you know Geminis, you know how we be. So now, because I sat in it, I really kind of have been reflecting on that for the last year. A whole year later, I'm responding differently. And then a whole year from now, no matter what that year looks like, if a situation occurs that's similar in my life, I'm going to respond differently again, because I will have grown through reflecting. We have awareness so we can learn to have a different habitual response. Ooh, that's good. I got to write that down. That's it. Hopefully I'm going to end it now, because I really want to write that down. Some things, just come to my brain. Oh yeah. So the end of this, go listen to the episode. I did a live birth chart reading. We just picked parts that we would do for the podcast. I can't believe I put myself out there like that, to be honest with you. Thank you to Molly over in the UK, my friend for a few years, if you listen to it, for putting yourself out there and opening up your soul and being honest. But I have been really doing and practicing over the last 2 years, doing birth charts. And afterwards I was like, did I really do that? And I got like imposter syndrome, because I'm still learning and growing and evolving my craft of it and my flow of it. And I said, whatever. One of my rules of putting it out there is, in 2 days, no one's even going to remember it's out there, whatever it is, whether it's a silly TikTok video, a tweet, obviously, as long as it's not like horribly defensive or something like that, it's never going to matter a week later. So in one way, it helps build confidence. That's what helped me build confidence. And I realized, no one's going to even remember this, the way we see things every day through social media. No one's going to remember this a week from now. So remember that. Look, I'm going to go back and listen to this episode, because I already forgot what I wanted to say about awareness, what I did say. That's the weekly awakening. But thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day and enjoy your week. And remember, obey the speeding laws.